should record. And yes, Mark Core, I've actually started the recording. Thanks for reminding, and I will give you a link to all of you for this recording. All right, thanks for bringing it up. Continuing from where I was, well, I've been there, done that, and I have been running a registered education provider. That means I've been a global RAP since 2007, right? And well, somebody has raised a hand, and here's the thing. This is a webinar, so you might not get a chance to speak much. I'll try later on to actually talk about it. You can leave some kind of a comment, or if you have a question, you can just put a question in the QA box, all right? So please go ahead and drop a question in the QA box, and I'll pick it up from there, all right? And then I've consulted in 16 countries around 3 continents. I've authored 3 books on PMP. It's available on Amazon. One of them is already a bestseller, right? And I'm a founder of the very first audio platform dedicated to project management. This is the very first of its kind on the planet. And I've certified personally. I mean, I have a certain other trainers as such, but we have collectively got above 65,000 people. We've been there since 2007, done a lot of work. But for me, since I'm the person on the webinar right here, I can only talk about my credentials, and therefore, just want to let you know that I personally have got 20,000, of course, much more than that, but right now my count stops at 20,000 professionals since 2007. And as for my personal life, I'm a nature photographer. I really travel all over to, do as much of photography I can. I'm also a beer drinker. I'm also a beer critic, and I've written books on beer, and a lot of people call me Beer Baba, right? And then I'm a traveler, and I do a lot of wood carving, and wood carving is now taking some professional shape. I'm actually getting some orders from some of these hotels, and centerpieces will be made. And of course, I'm an author. Moving on. The main point about this webinar is that lots of people are so scared about ITTO. The moment they start preparing for PMP, they get this feeling, how do I study for ITTO? And it's collective fear, which has been unnecessarily raised by a lot of people, right? Please don't worry about it. This is not what it is you have to worry about. Why this webinar? Not a single source. Unfortunately, not a single source which explains input, tools, and techniques, and we are only going to use ITTOs as a word from now on. Nobody explains it properly. There is an immense confusion that candidates have around ITTOs. Candidates try to mug up. I actually met somebody. I'm basically a member on a lot of program management and project management and PMP groups, and I keep answering questions. And I was shocked to know that there was somebody who was trying to mug it up. All the 49 processes, all the input tools and techniques of each and every of the 49 processes. And when I asked them why, the person told me their trainers told them to do so. That's the only way to pass the exams. I'm sorry, and I'm going to be very blunt. You don't need that. Absolutely not. That's not required. You need to know that there is hardly any questions in the exams which specifically ask for ITTOs, like what is the input of so-and-so process? What is the output of so-and-so process? Nobody asks you that, right? At the most, there may be one question, and probably not even that. But then, why is mastering ITTOs so crucial for exams? And that is what I'm going to come to, right? And people get, they end up doing miserably in exams, and they cannot understand why. They worked so hard, they studied so hard, they mugged up everything, and still they did not get what they wanted to achieve. And that's what this webinar is actually going to help you about. The scope of this webinar, just to make sure that there are no misunderstandings about the scope. This webinar is not talking about how to obtain your 35 contact hours, or which is a good training, or which book to buy, nothing of that kind. It is not also about your PMP certification. It is about the journey of PMP certification. And within that PMP preparation, I'm only going to talk about ITTO's portion of PMP preparation. Therefore, there are a lot of things that I'm not covering. Of course, they will become, topics of other webinars, but not this one. Here, we are only going to concentrate on mastering your ITTOs for PMP exams. Time for us to get started, right? So let's have a quick poll. I need a very quick poll, and you will find that poll very soon. I will have to actually, start the poll. And the moment I start your poll, right, you will get a question with only 2 possible answers. Click them as soon as you can, giving the right answer. I've launched the poll for you. Please start filling in, all right, and let's see what the results are. All right, pretty good. So I have a very high percentage on people who have already trained on PMP, but some people are not, which is a small percentage, but I'll keep that in mind as we get along. All right, not bad. So we have the poll all done, and I'm going to end the poll. It's gone into my records, right? So I'm going to stop it for the time being. All right, thanks a lot for such quick poll. Fantastic. It's got to be some kind of record. Let's move on. So how do mastering ITTOs really help in the exam? I mean, that's the first question you should have. Is it really worth mastering ITTOs, right? And I tell you, amazing help. Let me show you why. I've already told you that there will never be any question in the exam asking you specific what is the input of this and what is the output of that, or what is the tool and technique of so-and-so. That's not going to happen. But something else happened. And let me show it to you right now. Check out this question. And I'm going to read this question for you. This has been taken from a real exam. You are a project manager working on a project for developing a viable e-drive torque product for the new generation of electrical cars. The trial samples are under review and load testing, where some alarming omissions from checklists used for developing stage have come to light. The detailed report is mentioned in the standard quality control measurements. What should the project manager do next? Now, if you look at it, on the face of it, this question looks so difficult, right? I'm pretty sure this is an overwhelming question. Now, this is where your ITTO comes in. It's actually an amazingly easy question, provided you had some mastery of ITTOs, right? And this is what I'm going to change for you in just a few seconds, right? Check this out. What if you already knew this basic information, and that is, in quality knowledge area, there is a process called managed quality, which is preventive in nature, right? And among its outputs, there is one output which is called test and evaluation document, which actually becomes the direct input of the next process of quality, knowledge area called control quality. Now, control quality has quite a few outputs, but one of those outputs is, it is called quality control measurements. And the purpose of this quality control measurements is, it's a feedback to manage quality. It's a feedback that tells managed quality, hey guys, you're probably not doing a very good prevention methodology. There are some escapes. You need to improve. Your checklist is not working, or something is not working. Your review is not working. Some kind of feedback goes from control quality to managed quality. And that feedback, the name of that feedback is called quality control measurement. Now just imagine you knew this, right? And now let's look at the question all over again. You are a project manager working on a project for developing a viable e-drive torque product for the new generation of electrical cars. The trial samples are under review and load testing, where some alarming omissions from checklists used for development stage have come to light. The detailed report is mentioned in the standard quality control measurements. What should the project manager do next? And now you know the answer, because quality control measurements are a feedback to only one process. Out of all the 49 processes, it goes to only one process, and that is managed quality. And suddenly, this so-called difficult question has become so easy. I will let that sink in for you. This is the reason why we need to master ITTOs. All the questions in the exams, nearly 85% of all the questions in the exams are scenario based. You have to look at the question, figure out which knowledge area, which process goes under what condition the project is. And that can only happen if you know basics of ITTOs. And if you know ITTOs, you will be answering it fast with accuracy, and you'll be finishing the entire exams a lot faster. This is the first thing that you need to know, the reason why you need to master ITTOs. All right, good. So now let's move on. We will talk about the simple steps in mastering ITTOs. Forget about anything what any of your trainers or any one of them has said so far. I am saying it from the simple steps that I took, which got me 97% in 2000, right? This is the reason why I have above 99% passing rate, right? This is the reason why. So stick to these steps, you will be safe, right? And the best part is you don't have to do any trainings. You don't have to do anything. You can just do it on your own. I'll explain it to the extent that you will have to you can just do it on your own. That's it. That's the purpose of my webinars, right? Know the group ITTOs. Now, a lot of people will not understand the meaning of the term group ITTOs. In the latest version of PMBOK, which is the 6th edition, they have actually introduced a concept called group ITTOs. And I'm going to show it to you. Don't worry about it. The second is, this is the most powerful part. Know the purpose of each process. So for example, if I ask you, what is the main purpose of integrated change control? Like for example, perform integrated change control. That's the name of one of the 49 processes. And all you need to remember is that, you know what? The main purpose of this process is to either approve or reject change requests that have been raised. That's it, nothing more. Khalas, that's all that you need to know. What is the purpose of each of the process? And the moment you know that integrated change control, its only job is to either approve or reject change request, then obviously the input is change request. Change request has to be the input, otherwise what can you do? And obviously the output is either it is approved, which is called approved change request, or it would be rejected. It will become part of issue log, change log. That's it. That's all you need to remember. Forget about all the other inputs and outputs. That's all you need to remember. And you're already done with one process and you will never forget. That's how you need to do it. All right, not bad. The next step would be find ITTO patterns. There are very amazing ITTO patterns, right? And they're very interesting patterns. Once you see them, you will never be able to forget them. And I'm going to show you some of the patterns, but I will leave it to you to find a few more, right? Through your own studies, all right? So that's called ITTO patterns. And there are some very unique things about ITTOs. There are certain tools and techniques. There are certain things which are unique to specific processes. And if you know them, that means that the question is talking about those specific ITTOs, right? You know which process they're talking about because that is unique to a specific process. So that's the unique things that you need to know about. And the very last one is, how do you recall these ITTOs? Just remembering them is not good enough. You need to recall them at a split-second moment. For that, you need to develop your speed, and that speed development can only happen through a concept called flashcard. It's so simple, you can create one on your own, all right? Anyway, let's move on. Let's start with the very first step, which is known as know your group ITTOs. Now, do you have to remember them? Of course not. You don't have to remember any of it, all right? You just need to know that there are some tools and techniques which are grouped into other things, right? Let me give you an example, right? This is called Develop Project Charter. It's a process. It's taken from PMBOK Guide, right? The 6th edition, right here, right in front of you, right? Now, there are some group ITTOs. You may have noticed, you may not have noticed. This was introduced for the very first time in 6th edition. It was never there before. Look at this one. It's called Inputs, which is business documents, which consist of 2 sub-documents of business documents. So this one is called a group input. Check out this one, which is data gathering, which has a few, right? And then you have interpersonal and team skills, which have a few more tools and techniques. These are called group ITTOs, right? Cool. You just need to know about them. Do you have to master them? Do you have to study them? No, just keep an eye out for them. It's as simple as that. Let me show you. For example, there are 3 group inputs, not 4, not 2, just 3 group inputs, right? One of them is called business documents, which we just saw. One of them is called project management plan, which has 10 subsidiary plans, one baseline, and 8 other plans. And then there is a project documents, and man, they've got 34 documents, right? So which ones to remember? All right, all you have to remember is the business documents, and which is, containing business case and benefits management plan. That's it. And of course, as far as project management plan is concerned, the 10 subsidiary plans and the baselines. And what you just do not have to bother about is the other 8 plans and the 34 documents. You just don't have to remember. You have to be very selective, and I'm telling you which ones to be concerned about. All right. Now, when we talk about group tools and techniques, there are quite a few, right? So one of them is called data gathering. Now, data gathering, as the name suggests, it is a set of techniques like brainstorming, like meetings, interviews. These are automatically data gathering, where you interact with people and get hold of data. That's it. You don't have to mug up anything. Just go by the name, right? And then you have data analysis. Oh, this one has over 24 elements. Data analysis has 24 elements. Do you have to remember? Of course not. Let me tell you a trick. Every element of data analysis ends with analysis, right? So if there is a term called trend analysis, because it ends with a term called analysis, guess which group ITTO it belongs to? Pretty obvious, it belongs to data analysis. All right, so that's a very standard, simple trick. Then we have something known as data representation, right, which talks about how to use data in a particular form so that you can make some decisions out of it, right? So one of the data representation techniques could be very simple as cause and effect analysis, right? So those are your data representation analysis. Then you have decision making, which of course means things like voting, multi-criteria decision making, or autocratic decision making. That's it, you're done. And then you have interpersonal and team skills. I'm pretty sure you understand what this is. Leadership skills, right? Those are your interpersonal team skills, like active listening. I'm pretty sure if you concentrate on the names of these group tools and techniques, you are done. Should I have to say anything about communication skills? This is more to do with presentation skills, right? So you're done. That's it. These are your group tools and techniques, all right? And let's move on to group outputs. There are 2. One of them is called project plan updates, and the other one is called project document updates. Again, the question is, should I remember them? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Just skip them. All right. You don't have to remember any of them. Has no meaning for you. All right. Let's move on. The next step is know the very purpose of each of the processes. This is where you need to put some effort. All you need to do is when you look at any of the 49 processes, the first thing that should come to your mind is, hey, what is the core purpose of this process? And if you can say that, more than 50% of your battle is done. You should know the core purpose, right? I'll give you a few examples. Watch this very carefully. This is a process called validate scope. Now, if you knew what is the main purpose of validate scope, you would probably go like this. The purpose of validate scope is for the customer or for the person who's actually given you the requirements, whoever that person is going to validate whether those requirements have been met, yes or no. That's it. That's what they do. Whether they should accept the deliverables or they should reject the deliverables. Are the requirements existing in those deliverables or they don't? That's the purpose of validate scope. That's it. That's it. And the moment you do that, what do you think is the most important output of validate scope? The most important output will obviously become accepted deliverables, right? If that, I mean, of course, that depends whether the customer accepted it or not, right? And along with that, what is the condition, right? 50% got accepted, 40% got accepted, none of them got accepted. What was the information coming out of this process? It's called work performance information. And if you did something really bad, if you really messed up, right? Therefore, a lot of things did not get accepted, so you have a change request. Because the work is over and you still have not finished, So you need to go back to your drawing board, do the replanning, go through the change control process, but you got to get it delivered, right? That's your output. It's so simple. You just don't have to remember. It's part of remembering what is the purpose of validate scope. But tell me something. If accepted deliverables is the output, then what are the inputs that we need? One of them is the requirements document. How can you not have the requirements document? That's got to be the requirement documents. And we have to compare the deliverables with the requirement documents. Obviously, the next important input is verified deliverables. Do you have to remember any of the other inputs? Don't bother. These are the only few things that you need to remember about validate scope. And it's pretty logical. And what is it? What is that tool and technique, which is to look at physical things after they are made to figure out whether they are okay or not? It's called inspection. And you are done with this process. There are so many tools and techniques which are inputs, right? You don't have to remember any of them, right? You just have to concentrate on the purpose, and and I've already highlighted the ones. All right, let's take one more example. All right, let's talk about control cost. What is the main purpose of control cost? To tell you, in this project, how are we doing as per the cost? Are we are we over budget? Are we under budget, right? And if we continue spending money like this, how much money we would end up spending by the time the project finishes? These are the questions that you have. That's the main output of this process called control cost. And therefore, the most important information is work performance information and cost forecast, nothing else. You don't have to bother about anything else. But in order for this to happen, you need some data. You need some funding requirements because it's a budget. Money has to come in for different portions of your project. How much of money has come in? How much of money you've already spent? That comes from project funding requirements. And how much of work you've delivered? That comes from work performance data. You don't have to remember anything else. The tool and techniques. Well, one of the best methods for understanding the health of the project is called earned value analysis. And because you would have some contingency reserve, some of it may get utilized. You may have overspent, and that is your reserve analysis, that how much of money that is spending now and which would be needed, how much more money would be needed to take care of risks in future. And at what speed do I need to spend the money to still have a good project? And that is called TCPI. That's it. You don't have to remember anything else. That is what I meant by understanding the main purpose of each process. Let me tell you a very simple way. For each of your process, this is how you should make your notes. Trust me, you will love it. Make these notes like this. Pick up a process and figure out which knowledge area does it belong to and which process group. Does it belong to initiation? Does it belong to planning, execution, monitoring, controlling, or closing, right? So that's called process group. So you have a cross-reference right here. And after that, just write what is the main purpose of this process, just the way I just spoke about 2 or 3 processes just a few minutes back. And once you write down, this should not be more than a single sentence, right? It should not be like a paragraph. No, that means you've not understood. You just have to have a single sentence. That's it. That should take care of it. And then, therefore, because that is the main purpose of this process, therefore, it should have the main output as just 1 or 2. And therefore, its main input would be just 1 or 2, right? And therefore, the main tool and technique that we'll be using, probably 1 or 2. And you are done. That's what you need to do with each of the 49 processes. And if you've done it, you will be shocked how fast you can answer questions. How easy it will be for you to understand what is the scenario question talking about. This is the main trick. All right, let's move on. Next trick is to find ITTO patterns. There are a lot of interesting ITTO patterns. Let me point you in the correct direction. All right. You don't have to make diagrams the way I'm making it. I'm more of a diagram person. That's why I end up making. Now, it's a horrible looking diagram, but people loved it because of its simplicity. So please don't judge me. I'm not good at arts at all, right? I'm a good photographer, but not a good artist, right? So my apologies if it is, hurting some of your sensibilities about the quality of, the work. But I'm sorry for that. Okay. So there are some chat points that people have, done. I will come to chat a few moments from now, but let's finish this now. When we talk about patterns, the journey of deliverables, like for example, if you understood how the deliverables flow, what is the journey of deliverables across the entire life cycle of the project? Which process does it begin from? Which process does it go to? And then from that process, where does it go? So if you know the journey, you'll be surprised how well you understand the entire ITTOs. Let me show you. The deliverables get produced in the very first process called direct and managed project work. This is the process that generates deliverables. So if I ask you, which is the process where deliverables are born, you would say direct and managed project work. Fantastic, your work is done. But then what happens to those deliverables? They are actually becoming an input to a process called control quality, because verification has to be done before validation. This is another trick you should remember. Verification before validation, always. And therefore, in quality control or control quality, they will check whether deliverables meet the basic quality criteria. And if they find that yes, these deliverables meet the quality criteria, it will be called verified deliverables. The output becomes verified deliverables, and guess where verified deliverables become an input to? They become an input to validate scope, simply because verification before validation. And if the customers or whoever provided you the requirements and they find, hey, the validate scope meet the requirements, I accept them, you have an output of validate scope called accepted deliverables. And accepted deliverables become an input to the next process called close project or phase. Simple, right? And if there is a question which talks about deliverables, guess which are the processes they can possibly talk about. Either they'll talk about direct and managed project work, either they'll talk about control quality, or they'll talk about validate scope. All you have to do is read the question a little better, and you'll find out whether they're talking about making a deliverable or verifying a deliverable or validating a deliverable, and you know exactly which process they're talking about. That's called pattern. Fantastic. Let's come to another one, another example, right? What if you know about the entire journey of work performance data and work performance information? See what happens, work performance data becomes work performance information, and later work performance information gets converted into work performance report. But they have to go through multiple processes before they can get converted. And therefore, again, direct and managed project work, which also produce deliverables, also produces work performance data. So if I ask you which is the only process that produces work performance data, your answer would be direct and managed project work. Simple. But they become an input to 10 out of 12 controlling processes. In controlling, there are only 12 processes. It becomes an input to 10 out of those 12 controlling processes. And each one of them, in return, have an output called work performance information. Another way to look at it, any process which has output of work performance information has an input called work performance data. Good validation rule, right? And each of these work performance information, output of 10 controlling processes, they all become input to only one process, and that is monitor and control project work. That's it. And what is the output of monitor and control project work? Work performance report. That's it. If you know this pattern, it'll be so easy for you to understand what the question is talking about, right? Okay, let me give you more examples. Every time any process which has an output of any kind of estimates, like cost estimates, like duration estimates, like what I call resource estimate, you will also find that along with that estimate, there will be a basis of estimates as output. Always, never without basis of estimate. Every estimate, wherever in any process where estimate is an output, basis of estimates is also an output. Simple thing, very easy. Do not have to remember, understand the patterns, and you're very powerful. Another one is none of the outputs of the process, close project or phase, ever becomes an input to any other process, because obviously that's a very last process in the life cycle of a project, right? The project ends after that. And the fact that none of the inputs of the process develop project charter, they come from any other process. And there are a few more patterns. Just find it out. Concentrate on these kind of learnings, and you'll be not only enjoying your study, you'll also be doing it in a very powerful manner, very hard for you to forget, right? Retention would be great. So I'm pretty sure, I think you got the message. All right. So now let's move on to finding unique things about ITTOs, right? For this also, let me point you in the right direction. Some of the examples of unique things in ITTOs are, let's say, the output of the process defined scope. So there's a process called defined scope. It has an output called project scope statement. What you should know, that project scope statement is an input to only one process. Out of all the 49 processes, project scope statement becomes an input to only one process, and that is create WBS, right? So if you find a question where they talk about defining scope or creating specification, you know either they're talking about creating it, which will be the process called define scope, or they're going to talk about how it can be used to create a WBS. And if they do that, then they're talking about the process called create WBS. They can never talk about any other thing. That's what it means. That is why you need to know about unique aspects of ITTOs. Let's take another example. Decomposition is a tool and technique of only 2 processes. Just imagine, out of all 49 processes, decomposition is a tool and technique of only 2 processes, and those are create WBS and define activities. That's it. That means, I think you get the picture. If the question talks about decomposition, they can only be talking about create WBS, or they'll be talking about defining activities, right? Deliverables are an output of only one process, and that is direct and managed project work. I think I've already shown you the life cycle of deliverables. Product analysis is a tool and technique that is unique to the process defined scope. You will never find product analysis anywhere. So if they talk about product analysis, they are talking about defined scope, nothing else. They can never talk about anything else. All right. Okay. More unique things. Vendor bid analysis is the TT or tool and technique of only one process, and that is estimate cost. Simple as that. If they talk about you're reaching out to vendors for finding out what would be their bidding, what could be the possible cost of the bids, you're doing estimate cost and you're not doing anything else. Scope baseline is the output of the process create WBS, right? That is something that you should know. In fact, you should know about the baseline, all the baseline. So at a moment's notice, if I ask you, hey, what is the output of scope baseline? Create WBS. What is the, which process is the output? To which process is the output cost baseline? You say determine budget. And schedule baseline is the output of develop schedule. That's how you should go forward, right? The output project funding requirements of the process determine budget becomes an input to only one process, and that is control cost. So if they're talking about project funding requirements, either they're talking about determine budget, where project funding requirements are being actually created, or they're saying, okay, the so-and-so amount of money is required by the project, and the sponsor is not happy about it. Therefore, they're talking about control cost. It's as simple as that, okay? Like you can make diagrams like this. I mean, I'm a diagrams guy, so I do this a lot, all right? So these are, again, from some of the books that I've written, so don't worry about it. But do I have to remember all the ITTOs? Absolutely, unequivocally, absolutely no. You don't have to. Just follow these processes and you're done. Now, at the very end, we need to understand practicing on flashcards. In case you don't know what is a flashcard, well, that's a Japanese technique a long time back. So there is a question which is given on the front of the card. It's like actually an index card, and the answer is given at the back. So you look at the front of the card and you look at the question and you have to think of the answer, and you immediately turn it around and see whether your answer matched the flashcard or not. That's the whole purpose of flashcards. And as you start doing it again and again and again, you will realize that there will be a mind condition. You don't have to remember anything. Your mind would be conditioned into recalling stuff, right? It's like when you have a lot of music in your flash drive, right, or on the flash drive of your vehicle, and you're listening to music as you're driving around. You know, you might even have as many as 100 songs. It doesn't really matter. If you've actually gone through them a couple of times, right, it'll be very interesting that you'll notice that one song is ending. The moment one song is ending, in your mind, you can actually remember the exact song that's going to start next. That is called mind conditioning. You don't have to remember anything. That's called mind conditioning. Flashcard is all about mind conditioning. Use flashcards. Make them on your own, or you can use a prepared one like we already have. So you don't have to create one, right? So we already have a flashcard, right? Now, this is the time for Q&A. I'm going to shut this down to a certain extent, and let me switch on my chat, right? And let's also look at the Q&A, all right? So if you have any questions, please go ahead and let me know if you have any questions, right? And okay. All right, so people are saying great example. It's not at all horrible. All right, Jaideep Singh, the other says it's not at all horrible. Okay, fine, I take that. And all right, a great example. All right, so you have any other question? All right, so, okay. All right, so will you be sharing a PowerPoint or the recording? No, I'll be sending you the recording of this, right? Whatever that we are saying is actually getting recorded, right? So as a policy, right? I'll be sending it to all the participants. You've given me your time. The least I can do for you is send you the link of the recording. It'll be hosted on YouTube, and you will get the link. You've earned it, right? All right, so somebody says, do we have your email address? Yes, the emails that you used for registering, I'll be using it for sending this material to you. Yes, I have your emails, right? So it's there in this platform. It's available there, and I can use it. Any other questions that you have? All right, pretty good. But please hang in there. Don't move out yet, right? All right, so if you have a few minutes, can you please talk through quality processes? I will do that. But before that, let me go through this whole thing, right? Maneesh, can you please answer the real question you mentioned? Joe Nullen, I'm sorry, I could not get this. Maneesh, can you please answer the real question you mentioned? I'm sorry, what was the question that I mentioned? Could you repeat my question? Because I'm sorry, I really can't relate this question, but I really want to answer this, Joe Nullen. So please do let me know what the question is. All right. So here's what I'm going to do while you're going to look at, make the questions again. Let me switch on the presentation again, and I'll wait for you to send me that question, the question that I mentioned. Sorry, I could not understand that. And I'm more than happy to stay back and answer you, right? So I've been able to, we'll come back to it. So don't worry about this slide, right? And if in case, you want to go for any kind of a prepared thing. So for example, if some of you have not done your training and you wish, right? And I'm not trying to sell this, it's only up to you. We have a PMP training, which is nearly 100%, and we do it live wire. We do it over the internet, but live. We make it extremely interactive, right? It's not one of those boring one-sided things. It's very interactive. So we'll continue with that. There is one starting on 1st of May. If you're interested, by any chance, let me know. But you have other options too. In case you do not want to go for this entire training, which is only meant for those people who have not attended the PMP training. For those who have already attended, there is a book which is available on Amazon called Mastering ITTOs. It has all the patterns that you can possibly think of, right? And it's everything. It's got amazing tips and tricks. So you use it, right? That's your call. Go to Amazon, just search for my name, and you'll get this book. Of course, you'll get 2 other books, but this is the book that we are currently talking about. Or if you are one of those guys who love to listen to audio, like some people love audio, you can even go to the very first audio platform on the planet for project management. The link is given here. It's dhwani.dhwani.pmpulse.com. And within there are 3 or 4 packages. Pick up the one which is talking about ITTOs, right? and you can listen to them. So you have many options, right? Okay, now this is the beauty of it. Since you guys gave me your time, you took the pains of joining this webinar, there is a free gift to all of you. You don't have to make any flashcards. Just come to pmpulse.com. The link is right here. That's my site. Click on the flashcards, not here, but in PM Pulse. When you go there, there's a menu item called flashcards. Click on that, just register. It's free. You have one of the best, most comprehensive flashcards that you can possibly imagine, and it's there absolutely free for you. So prepare, and it's all free for you. So don't worry about it, right? It's up to you, right? Okay. So there's just one more poll, right? And I'm going to run that poll. And after that, I'm going to wait for more questions, because one of the questions I could not understand about, Maneesh, can you please answer the question mentioned by you? So I don't remember which question I mentioned, but I would really wait for me, for you to tell me. So I'm going to go for the next polling, and which is, I'm just wondering about the time. So you let me know. There are some options given for the time for webinar, which would suit you better. I'm launching this poll for you. Please tell me which timing is better for you, right? It's better that I get some feedback about times. That'll help me a lot. So please go ahead and let me know. And meanwhile, let me understand the question. The very first question, okay, regarding the quality management process, what does the project manager need to do if there are some failed results? Okay, perfect. Now I got your question, and I will, after this poll, I'll immediately answer this question or any other question that you have, right? Because this webinar is only to answer questions. That's what I'm supposed to be doing right now. All right, so let's look at the polling. Fantastic. All right, so this is good. I've got pretty good understanding of where we are. We've got a split decision. So I'm ending the poll right now. Thank you so much, right? And I'm going to close poll. All right. Okay. Let's talk about quality processes. I'm going to run you through the entire quality processes, knowledge area quality, right? There are 4 processes in quality management as far as processes are concerned for the knowledge area called quality management. The very first thing that has to be done is that you need to create a mini plan. One of the 10 subsidiary plans have to be created. The name of that plan is called Quality Management Plan. Now, what kind of decisions do you take in that particular process? All you have to do is, hey, in this process, are we going to use a checklist? Are we going to use any kind of template? What are the quality standards and benchmarks are we going to use, right? So basic decisions about quality, right, that you are going to follow in this particular project, you just mentioned them, right? And the moment you do that, right, what is going to happen is, all right, so the moment you do that, what's going to happen? You will have something known as quality management plan. That's it. What kind of plan do you need for quality in this particular project? And you're done. Khalas. Fantastic. Now, what's the next process? The very next process is manage quality. What is manage quality? Manage quality is, how do we get things right the very first time, right? The best way to talk about quality is doing it right the very first time. And one of the best ways to do it right the very first time is called checklist. If you use things like checklist, you will find that you are going to get right the very first time. Right? Does it make sense? Right? So that is the whole purpose of managed quality. Now, just because you did manage quality does not necessarily mean that we are gods. We have created a perfect prevention methodology. Of course not. There could be something wrong with our processes, and therefore whatever that we did in managed quality becomes an input to a process called control quality. Right? In control quality, we are going to do inspection. We're going to figure out, hey, you know what? How well you have done the work. Let's look at the deliverables and let's verify them. Do they meet all the quality principles? Have the team done a good job or not? So they go through it. They do testing, they do product evaluation, they do so many things, right? And once they do it, they figure out, hey, whether it meets the product or not, whether it meets the quality standards or not. If it meets, we say the output is verified deliverables. And now that you know the quality standards have been met, you can go to the customer and say, hey, sir, you can check it on your own. You can compare it with your requirements. I think you'll find it to your satisfaction. And therefore, it becomes an input to the process called validate scope. But on the other hand, they find, you know what, there are a lot of silly mistakes coming out. I think the execution team has not done a good job. So I will give a feedback that is called quality measurements. The quality measurement is a feedback. That was the question, the very first question that we talked about in the slides. And the quality measurements will become an input to which process? Manage quality. So the answer to that question was, what would the project manager do next? He will have to go back and update his managed quality processes. He will have to update his checklist. So that's what he'll have to end up doing, because it's a feedback that he's getting that, guys, your prevention is not good enough. Does that answer your question? Right. So somebody asked, what is the website? So let me type it here. It's dhwani.pm-pulse.com. Right. So if you just go to the site, sorry, apologies. If you just go to the site, you will have access to audios. Of course, this one is a bit of a paid site, but not a whole lot. So you should be able, you're pretty much safe. So Joe, do let me know if you got your answer, right? And there was another person who has asked me if I can walk you through the whole quality processes. I've just done that. The point is, you have to understand processes the way I explained it to you, right? You should be able to do it on your own. That's what it is all, right? There's nothing great about it. There is a certain amount of logic in PMP OK. Please do not take PMP OK or PMP as theory. Theory is the worst way for attempting exam. If you understand it, no matter how complex the question they send it to you, you will pass, right? Some of us, what happens is that sometimes we attend certain trainings, certain things have been told to us in such a fashion, sorry, we misunderstand the whole PMP. And we, in the worst case scenario is sometimes we are not successful, but don't lose any hope, right? You don't have to buy any of my products. You don't have to be attending any of my trainings. All you have to do is the things that I have told you, just go for that. Just go ahead and do it on your own. And you will be shocked how much you can achieve. You don't really need a lot of other people telling you what to do, right? Just stick to these basic things and you will do extremely well. Please do not underestimate the value of ITTOs. All right. So somebody asked me another question. Let me quickly reply. All right. So that answer has been done. Is there any other question? Please do let me know. All right. So, all right. Okay. Pretty good. Oh, so Joe Nolan. No wonder I kind of somehow remembered this name. All right. Cool. All right. All right. Good to get you back, Joe. Very nice. Nalla. And let's see. All right, so there's a question. Do you think current PMP OK will be valid for the next year as well? Of course, it will be. Please understand there's a lot of misconceptions going around about PMP OK, right? The PMP OK, see, two things. You have to be careful about two things, right? One is that the exams are going to change. So exams will change, but the PMP OK would not change till the next year. So your exams is going to drastically change. It's going to be like a new thing altogether. It's going to be a horrendous change, right? So it's better that you clear now, right? Spend your time, do it now, and get rid of your exams right now, right? And as soon as you can. The sooner the better, right? By December, right, there'll be too much of people trying to clear, right? So should not get caught there. What is going to happen after December is your exams are going to change. The PMP OK is going to be still the same. Then in 2022, the PMP OK will change and it will be the 7th edition, right? So from now till this thing, right, it'll keep on. So somebody says, I cannot see the link to flashcards. Well, it's very simple. If you go to www.pmpulse.com, right? Once you come to this, you will actually see a link. One of the menu items will be called flashcard. So when you click on that flashcard, it'll actually ask you to register. When you register, a link would be sent to your email, not a link, your access password and your user ID would be sent to your email. And from then you can just access it and start going through the flashcards. All right. So I hope you'll be able to see it soon, Benito. Maybe I didn't pronounce it right. So Benito, you'll get a chance to just go to my site called pm-pulse.com. And one of the main items is called, flashcards. And that's good. All right. So the flashcards are not on Dhwani, right? The flashcards on PM Pulse. All right. Pretty good. So let's see if there's any other question. I'll be more than happy to help you. So there's another question. Is the exam pattern changing? I think I just explained that. So that also should be taken care of. The exam is changing in December. After December in 2021, but the PMBOK is remaining the same, right? And then after that, the PMBOK itself will change in 22. All right. Cool. Let me see. All right, pass mark for the exam. All right. Okay, here's one thing. I'll give you a very solid suggestion, right? I'll tell you the percentage for passing, but I'll also tell you something very interesting. Never, ever focus on passing percentage, because then you will be forced to only, focus on the minimum. Never focus on the minimum. Try to get 100%, and that's always a better thing. But having said that, it's a question that you asked me, and it's my honor-bound duty to actually tell you it's 61%. You get 61%, you're through, right? But again, as I said, don't focus on 61. Never focus on the bare minimum. Always focus on the maximum. Any one of us can achieve more than 90%. It's not difficult. If a guy like me can achieve it, anybody on the face of the earth can achieve it. All you have to do is, right, you can go ahead. Right, you just have to, So how much should we have in test exam? Oh, right, good. Well, if you were my student, Benito, I will simply say that if you score anything less than 100%, don't move to the next test. Just keep on doing this test. And then once you get 100%, move to my next test, right? So that's what I say, right? I always go for 100%. That's why I'm better off, right? I will never compromise on my test scores. And that's how I know I go with a lot of confidence, with a lot of experience to the real test. And that's how I would know that I'm going to cross it. I'm going to clear it. So that's my advice, Benito. That's my way of working. So since you asked me, I just let you know, it's always better to go for 100%, at least in tests. And that's how you actually prepare better for the real exams. All right. So any other question that we have right now? All right. So another question says also, can we take exams online now? Yes, it is under testing phase, Joe. Right now, there is a testing going on because there is a lot of problems with the testing. So if they try to allow you to take tests from home, you can actually do a lot of cheating. I'm sorry, there's a lot of unethical practices people as it is try to do, right? So this happens, right? So for that, they're trying to figure out that how can they monitor you through your laptop, how can they do it while you're giving the exam? How can they monitor a bit of your surrounding without affecting your privacy? So they're working on it. Some kind of a beta testing has already started. So the good thing is, I think by May, we should have the possibility of actually giving exams online sitting from home, right? So I really hope that happens because the way it looks, the coronavirus may be there for a certain period of time, which is going to make our movement quite difficult. All right. So I have another question, and let me answer that. Mr. Madhu Babu, I already have your email, and I will send these details to you. Right. So I'll also write it to Madhu. All right. So I've sent a message. All right. So I'll send these details to you, and Oh, sorry. The online exams are for worldwide or affected areas only. All right, that's a good question. That's because if they make it available, they'll have to make it available everywhere. But as usual, since PMI is stationed in US, they are actually starting first from US. But they are actually going to very quickly spread it to all affected areas, right? Now, there is a huge problem. Even those areas which are not affected, many of their centers are still shut down simply because the head office is shut down. So right now, the way what PMI has told us that it is not only for affected areas, it's for everyone, but they're trying. It's still not confirmed because they have not mastered it yet. All right. Okay. So please, I need the details and the PowerPoint presentation. Of course, as I said, I will be sending you the links, right? But you'll have to give me some time because once I finish the session, only then the recording will end. Then the presentation platform will take about 10 minutes to process it. And then I'll be able to download it. I'll host it at YouTube and send you the link. So you will get it. And yes, I already have your email ID because that's the email ID that you use for presentation. For registration. So I already have it. All right. Pretty good. So, all right. So do we have any other question? I'm here for you guys. So any questions, please go ahead. Fire away. All right. Thank you. You're most welcome. I'm always available for that. And no, for those people who are asking, should I take the exam after they change? I would strongly recommend you not to do so. Please take the exam right now. Let me also tell you how dangerous it is. If you take the exam later, sir, even the REPs, registered education providers like us, are absolutely worried how it is changing. It's a huge change. All right. So please take it right now. For 6 months, just understand, after January till June, PMI is going to train the REPs on that exam. So for 6 months after June, they are going to tell the REPs what these exams mean. Just imagine what it will be like for you if you wait that long. So please go ahead and do it now when it is still understandable, because the change is so drastic that even PMI and REP, they are really worried about it. So trust me, take it right now. Yes, there are a few questions on Agile in this version. There'll be a lot of questions of Agile in the after January, right? 2021. But till December, they have just about 5 or 6 questions on Agile. That's it. That's the number of questions that will show up in the exams, right? And they're very simple, right? Don't have to worry too much about it. All right. So yes, there are questions on Agile, but not a whole lot. But yeah, it'll be right. So somebody has asked, when shall be our next meeting? Well, this is called webinar Wednesday. I take up a topic in every Wednesday. I'll be taking up a topic and talking about it, right? I'll be just changing the times a little bit so that different people from different places can join in, because I want to share as much of information to people as much as I can. Because when I'm on PMP groups, I see a lot of unnecessary, useless information going around, people getting scared, people talking about they could not clear, and I hate that. If you put in that effort, you need to have what I call the information. You have the right to do so. So my job is to only give you information so that you have a better outcome. There's a question by somebody who says, what is REP meaning? Well, REP is actually Registered Education Provider. What it means is PMI cannot give all the trainings to the rest of the world. So what they do, they actually appoint people like me all over the planet, and they are registered and audited by PMI, and we have the quality rights to actually do the trainings on behalf of PMI. And if you do a training from us, then you get those 35 PDUs, not PDUs, you get those 35 contact hours that you can actually use for applying to for the exam. So that is the meaning of the REP, Registered Education Providers, and REP of PMI, right? So I'm one of them. So do you have a webinar for project cost management specific? Not really. It may happen a lot later, but for that, I can actually suggest you to just listen to my audios on PM Dhwani. In fact, that's going to give you a lot of width. In fact, the PM Dhwani audios, I'm sorry, I'm sounding like a little bit of a marketing thing, but this is just for information. I'm not trying to market anything. I'm sorry if I'm sounding like that. If you just go to PM Dhwani, the audio platform, you'll find that the audios are way more comprehensive than any book that has been written. It's very comprehensive. I put my heart and soul in that audio. So if you feel, you can just go through that. And if you want to understand the quality, right? So you don't have to buy them immediately. There is a lot of free audios given, right? And within those free audios, there are a lot of taster audios to tell you what the audios inside look like if you buy. So there you'll find everything. You can choose whatever that you want, right? I may have a webinar on specific knowledge areas, but I don't see that happening in the near future. It will definitely happen, but it'll happen later, right? Right now, I'm looking at only those webinars where I can help people prepare better, remove some of the myths, but that's it, right? Will I get invitation for your next webinar? Of course. I'll make sure that you also get it. I'll make sure that all previous participants get a link for the next webinar. Invitations will be sent. How much is the registration for the certification video? I'll send you a link for if you want to do my next PMP training, which is starting on 1st of May. I can actually talk about that, and I'll talk one-to-one. So somebody says I'm in Sydney, and now it is, yeah, it's pretty late for you guys. So, but for Sydney, let me tell you, Joe, I'm actually working with a local person there in Melbourne, right? And he's one of my past students. He really wants me to start some work in Sydney. So I'm working with him to figure out how and which will be the best time and which date for webinar. So for Australia, I'll actually having a complete different series of webinars, very similar patterns, but a complete different series, and it'll be only for Australia because the time difference between where I am versus Australia is kind of different. So I'm not sure how you're waking up so late, right? So go and sleep, Nalin. Just sleep, right? Okay. And sometimes there's another question that sometimes the ways ETC and EAC are calculated using different parameters like AC, PV, CPI. Oh, it's very confusing. No, it's actually not. It's actually one of the easiest. So don't worry about it. How do I take care of it? Jaydeep, can I suggest you something? I have a channel on YouTube, right? Just search for Maneesh Vijaya and go for that channel. And in those so many videos that I have some very interesting videos completely free of cost. It's YouTube, right? It's free. You can actually go through some of the interesting things that I've told about ETC, EAC, when to use AC, when to use PV. Very easily, you can go through it. And you know what? Sometime in future, I will also have some basic webinars on these basic things as well, right? Right? And somebody says, well, is it safe to give exams in August? Of course, it is. But the safety depends on how well prepared you are, right? So please prepare yourself well and do a lot of questions, right? And and you can reach out to me, right? You can always reach out to me. All right. So I know this person. All right. Yes, I know you. You would be ready by 1st of August. So please don't worry about it, right? But whatever I told you how to prepare, just stick with that, and you are done. And you can always get in touch with me. How I react. I always help people, so you can reach out to me, right? Don't worry about it. Okay, where can I find recordings? All right, I'm going to send it to everybody who registered on this, right? So email is there in the platform. I just give the link to the platform and the platform sends it to everybody. So don't worry about it. You will all get a link, right? Please, if you can make it simple in your coaching, thank you. All right, I will make it as simple as I can. My job is to simplify complexity. I am a consultant. I even consult companies like Tata. I consult. I've consulted Aramco. I've consulted, Alba. I consult some companies in US, automotive companies. My only job is to make things simpler. People make it unnecessarily, complex. No, the real power is in simplicity, and that's what I do. All right, guys, do you have any other question? Right? So don't worry, we will be reaching out to you, right? You will get all answers, and trust me, you can reach out to me anytime. People, some of you who already know me and who are attending, they know that I'm more than forthcoming, right? And I help you. Oh, Maneesh Vijay. You can just search for Maneesh Vijay. Just go to YouTube and type Maneesh Vijaya with this spelling, right? I've already entered that spelling. I have a typical name. It's called MANESH and you will find that channel. And it's not got too many YouTubes in it because I'm an old guy. I'm a dinosaur. I'm just beginning the, but when you go there, you will find, right? Okay. So will the recording come with a slideshow? No. I mean, I don't know whether you want to call it slideshow. Whatever that we've been speaking, every word of it, along with the slides, the whole video, whole thing will be part of the video that I'll be sharing. So everything that we've talked about, everything will be sent to you. All right. So that's the whole thing, right? So I'm pretty sure it'll also have the slideshow. So I apologize. The comment on coaching simplicity was related to ETC. Yeah, I know. I knew exactly what you meant. And that's what I said. I make it simple, right? So your ETC EAC will become one of the simplest things for you to answer. In fact, once you come to know how this earned value works, you will actually want to have more questions because it's one of the simplest things. It's just unfortunately, some people explain it in such a fashion that it seems difficult. It's actually very easy. All right, so don't worry about it. All right. Yeah, so I've already answered that. So the recordings will come with everything, including slideshow and all the questions and all the discussions we've had so far. All right. All right. So is there any other question? I'll be more than happy to answer. My wife is already glaring at me and she's looking at me with the eyes that, hey, when are you coming here for dinner? Right, so yeah, she's waiting for me. So, but anyway, you guys come first. Do let me know if you have any other questions. If not, well, then in that case, we'll call it a day. And thank you guys once more. Thank you for your presence. I really appreciate your time. Some of you have woken up so late to come to this session. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So I'll be ending the session now. Thank you very much. And whatever that we've discussed, I will make sure that will reach you. Just give me one day. Tomorrow by evening, my evening, all of these things will reach you. I'll be also reaching out to Madhu and other people for the interest that they've shown for some of the sessions, and I will reach out to you. All right, guys, take care. Thank you so much. And I'm ending the webinar right now. Right? Thank you.